That just looks nice, doesn't it?
Does.
It does look nice. Those windmills out there cranking out wattage for the Warrior Healing Center. All that green energy just right here. It's exciting to be part of something so green. So welcome everyone. Exciting day. Little light on the price action, as you can see from over here. A lot of red on the board, and it was a little bit worse earlier this morning. When I got up, it was like, look what happened. So as you can see, a little fluctuation, little downturn, but that's okay. Remember, well, first of all, before we get to the technical stuff, oh, the keyboard didn't make it. Why don't you go into a little bit about how you feel about the volatility, the price fluctuation, and stuff like that?
Well, I don't know what's going on, but there's like some type of manipulation going on. I don't know whether it's the whales doing it or if it's, Elon Musk, Rat, and his little crew or
Right?
what. But I think there's some market manipulation going on. I don't know if we also mentioned the hedge funds that we talked about. I just really don't know. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It really
it's really
is
hard
to
because
say.
nobody can really put a finger on it. But they keep going up, and then it'll shoot back up to 36,000, and then it seems to dump.
Yeah, and this is kind of reflected in the media as well. If you check out what they're saying over on our media outlets, they're saying that prices are on the way down, and this downward pressure is really pushing the overall market as well. And you can see that in this analysis here. Bitcoin was trending inside a similar triangle-like consolidation pattern until it ultimately broke below the structure's lower trend line. As a result, the flagship cryptocurrency's probability of shifting its downside target near 30,000 increased. So you can see it right there on the right-hand side of the screen where we've got price action that's following in this pattern. And this trend here is kind of what they call in technical analysis a flag, because you can see the highs trend here and the lows trend here, and that forms kind of a pennant looking flag.
Yeah.
In this case, it was, it should have been a break point more out here. In other words, this is why we talk about it looks like price manipulation, because the natural market tendencies would be for these breakpoints to happen a little bit further along in this flag.
And then maybe go up, right? Or
it could break up or break down.
But it's just breaking down, down, down.
Yeah. Usually the direction of the flag is opposite of the direction it's going. So a bull flag is one that's kind of pointed down, and a bear flag is one that's pointed up. So for example, here, where you have this uptrend, this formation is one that you'd expect to break down. But look at what happened. It's usually near the intersection of the two lines where you get the price action. These price actions, the major dip here, the major dip here, are happening, and the major dip here, are happening in weird places that a lot of the technical analysts are saying, whoa, wait a second, this doesn't fit with what a normal, healthy, functioning market would behave like. Now, that's not to say that the market always behaves in a particular way, and that unprecedented things like this can't happen on their own. But it's kind of an indicator, along with this other stuff like Kyle was talking about, with the known market manipulation, makes us wonder. So we also have a different indicator that Bitcoin US dollar exchange rates are inside a rectangle pattern. And it's been keeping Bitcoin in what they call a medium-term bias conflict. In other words, a central tendency towards the bottom of that rectangle.
We don't want the rectangle.
Yeah, right?
We do not want
We
that.
want a triangle pointed towards the moon.
Right.
But, not really. And when we talk about, okay, why is this happening? Because there's not a whole lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt out there. But the rest of the market, the rest of the global market is facing headwinds. And when that happens, people tend to pull their money back out of general uncertainty. So it's not like bad news for Bitcoin has come out. Yeah, the U.S. Central Bank suggested they might end up pulling back their support of the economy sooner than expected. That's just a whole bunch of uncertainty.
Yeah, but you see the Federal Reserve in there. Like,
yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
Why?
So they're going to manipulate the amount of currency that they're printing in order to try to drive rates and inflation and dollar values. So you can see the timing here with their release of that news. And so they're suggesting that maybe that is the reason for the breakout of that flag pattern.
Makes sense. I mean, according to that, if you guys are all following along on the map here, it drops off dramatically right after that news release.
Right. But it really does not conform with what we've seen before. And that's what the rest of this story kind of talks about is, okay, we haven't seen it this way before. So what does it all mean? And that's why 30,000 is kind of the central tendency point that they're going with. And all you need to know is don't believe the hype. These are phases that when you look at the history of Bitcoin and the history of cryptocurrency, you have long periods of change, both positive and negative, but the overall tendency is up 9,000% since 2013. That is the carpet we want to ride on.
Yeah, but it's still 30,000, folks. Like, don't go getting scared and panic selling. And we're not, like I said again, we're not offering financial advice, but $30,000 a coin is still a substantial amount.
Yeah.
And once they get all this stuff figured out, and I think they're going to start maybe some more laws or things that might pop up, or it's going to go back up.
Yeah, there is no doubt in my mind that we are going to see a reversal before the end of the year. And personally, I expect to see a big reversal. I mean, every single time they start saying, oh, Bitcoin's in trouble, there's a bear market and Bitcoin's getting destroyed, that's about the time that Bitcoin turns around and skyrockets.
Mm-hmm.
Just historically, I can tell you that whatever the experts are saying, generally the opposite happens.
Right.
And that's because as good as the experts are, they're oftentimes looking at the wrong things, or their understanding of the right things is based upon history. And because Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are new markets and they're still finding their price points and the market is still determining, what the real value is, history does not serve as a perfect predictor of future.
We're still in the infant stages. We're still like Tim put a good. He said what were we in? The sword and the
flintlock musket.
Flintlock musket. Yeah, there
exactly.
you go. Yeah, we're still in the flintlock and musket stage of Bitcoin. We're nowhere near. We're a long ways away from F-35s and F-22s, and you know what I mean. Like, so who knows?
So I want to show you this because it is a good history. to recognize but not use as a predictor. And I think it illustrates very well what we're talking about. So here's the history of the bull and bear market since 2013, end of 2013. And it gives you an idea of the duration of those markets. So if you used history as a guide, you would see really long bear market that lasted a year and a half, and then really long bull market that lasted 2.5 years, and think, okay, bear and bull markets last like 600, 800 days, right? Well, and then all of a sudden, they started getting shorter. 361 days, 192 days, 260 days. But then, as the headline says, these cycles were getting shorter until now. Mm-hmm. And now we see a 407-day period of bull market. And there's, still some debate as to whether or not we're truly in a bear market or not. But I think it's safe to say when we're around 30,000 with an all-time high of 60,000, we're probably safe to say in a bear market. The question is, how long do these cycles last? And the answer is you can't tell by looking at the past. Yeah. What a lot of people were saying, a lot of experts were saying, was that this bull market was going to last until October timeframe. And then once it kind of flipped, now everyone's saying, okay, the bear market is going to last until the end of the year or potentially beyond. And what I'm saying is the lesson from history is that history doesn't tell you much. It tells you a little, and it gives you kind of, a guide to go by for analysis, but it does not give you any prediction power whatsoever. This is about as random as, you can get.
And you can't go back 20 years and look. There's not that much history yet.
Yeah.
So it's still very young. It's still developing. They're developing new cryptos and DeFi protocols and everything on a daily basis. They're like, for instance, we're waiting for a token to drop next year.
Yeah.
We'll get more into that later, but we got big hopes for that one. History can't really, I don't really go off of anything.
Well, and think about how different the world was. I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but back in 2014, back in our younger days of 2014, the world was just a different place. The economy was a different place.
Oh, yeah.
Pre-COVID, still pre-Trump, this was a economy that was largely coming out of the housing bubble still.
The recession in 2008.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a completely different world, different set of market conditions. And Bitcoin certainly was not accepted at Sheets, to buy gas.
Mm-mm.
And you couldn't get a Coinbase ATM card to use at all your vendors, to buy your groceries. So many things have changed so fast, and I think that is the key lesson from history, is that the rate of change, the onset of change in this particular technology and in our economies in general is speeding up, so that not only are things not like they were 7 years ago, things aren't like they were 7 months ago.
Right.
So you really can't look at history, and you can learn from history, but you can't use it to predict. And in that sense, we just need to be prepared for uncertainty. And the uncertainty that we're preparing for by encouraging people to learn about cryptocurrency is, once again, that uncertainty associated with the dollar and our overall Fed-controlled, infused economy. Because ultimately, that we see as the biggest historical threat to, not investors, but just to regular people.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at what inflation has done to the dollar, it's lost all its value. I mean, more than all its value. 2,000% since 1913.
It's crazy.
That tells you a lot. So,
and we say it a lot as well, so it means I mean, we want to get this into your guys' head. I mean, we're not, like I said, we're not offering financial advice, but we want to remind you guys, hey, dollar's not going anywhere. It's decreasing in value.
Yeah. and that is the key piece, is that cryptocurrency isn't going anywhere. It's going to mature. It's going to serve people as an escape from that inflation, but it's also going to serve governments as these government agencies and quasi-government agencies like the Fed start using their own cryptos to exert control. So China is really close to releasing their own digital yuan. There's lots of talk about the U.S. Fed doing a digital dollar of some sort and basing it off of...
Did you see the designs for it?
Yeah.
Pretty trippy, huh?
Yeah, right. But all of those will establish more control, and they will take away people's ability to generate freedom and economic choices, which is not a good thing. So it's important for us to learn about what is available in that private sector, because we believe separation of money and state is, a really good way to go. One other headline that I wanted to talk about is the mining issue. So right now, there are all these miners in China that aren't working because of China's crackdown. And hey, I applaud it. I mean, when I heard China was cracking down on Bitcoin mining, I was like, great. That helps everybody in the West be more effective with their miners. And that's what we're seeing here. An example, Griffin Digital Mining has signed an agreement to purchase 7,200 mining machines from Bitmain Technologies, which is a Chinese company, for $48 million.
Wow.
600 miners monthly. Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah. In order to use those, you have to understand the kind of facility that we're talking about, because each one of those miners requires 240 volts and 3,300 watts of electricity to run, and it generates all kinds of heat that has to be cooled. So it's going to be very interesting where this Griffin Mining, who just recently did a merger agreement with Sphere, a data management company, where they're going to put these assets and how they're going to manage them. That is probably going to be an important signal to us on where all of this is heading.
Yeah, well, if that exchange is already listed on NASDAQ, then
yeah,
exactly, it could help start to stabilize everything.
Yeah,
especially if the stock market's involved.
Yeah, a company like that could afford to create like a hydroelectric powered Bitcoin mine facility somewhere, or a solar powered mine facility somewhere, and that would be ideal, something with renewable energy. So one of the places where that could wind up, which we find very interesting,
starts with a W.
Check this out.
Yep, Wyoming.
So I want you to listen to what the senator from Wyoming said. Oh, we're going to be treated to an ad.
Yay.
I don't want the ad.
Hey, do you have a power meter like this on the side of your house? If so, you can save...
No, I don't.
Oh, can we skip it? At no cost to you. You can save up to $500 by...
There was research at the University of Cambridge that showed that Bitcoin mining uses about 40% renewable energy. And in the non-Bitcoin mining economy, it's only 12%. So Bitcoin mining is already more environmentally adapted to non-carbon emitting energy sources. But in addition to that, we're seeing some real innovation in that field. For example, in my state of Wyoming, where oil and gas is produced, when you drill an oil well, a gas well, for a while it's not hooked up to a pipeline. So the product, especially gas, is being vented into the air. Well, now these Bitcoin miners are pulling in a trailer, hooking up to that vented gas and using it to mine Bitcoin. So they're actually
mining to help mining.
Exactly. And doing it in a way that keeps carbon out of the air and uses it to produce another product, Bitcoin. So there's a lot of innovation that's happening behind the scenes. So I would say don't judge Bitcoin mining as a energy bad guy. There are a lot of things going on that prove otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Those crazy innovative humans. Look at what they're up to. Hooking up Bitcoin mining operations to use the exhaust from petroleum mining. What will they think of next?
Sounds good to me.
Right? The point is, Wyoming, that's the senator, one of two senators from the state of Wyoming, giving like a presser on the steps of the Capitol, talking about the importance of Bitcoin. Wyoming has taken on the challenge of becoming the most Bitcoin and crypto-friendly state in the union. Just what you'd expect, right? Wyoming.
Golf clap.
Well done, you guys. And Miami as a city is taking that challenge. Several New York mayoral candidates are pushing that same agenda.
San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of mainstreaming going on, but not mainstreaming like we're all going to get a wallet on our phone and we'll just send each other Bitcoin and it'll be fun.
Right.
You know, we're talking like real innovation, like they're tying into these other major energy industries and doing crazy stuff that no one ever thought of before in order to generate revenue and be good for the global economy.
And it's working, and it's healthier for the environment.
Yeah.
Oh.
And meanwhile, transforming, you know, the global economy by providing a service that everyone can use.
Yeah.
Without banks.
What'd you say?
Without banks.
Kidding.
So anyway, all this serves as positive news. And this brings us to the positive divergence issue that we talked about last time. You know, Bitcoin is in a position, as we mentioned, where it's growing out of its infancy. It's kind of like the internet in 1997. What was there? AOL and Earthlink.
You've got mail.
That's about it. But if we think about what happened with the internet.
Well, I mean, it exploded, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Nobody thought it was going to be this big. Everybody was always saying, oh, it's not going to last, this, that, and the other thing.
Right. Did it wait for like some government approval?
Excuse me.
Did it wait for like some government agency to say, okay, internet, you can now go?
You said government, and I had to sneeze all of a sudden.
I'm allergic to government too.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah. At least they haven't turned our lights off yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So the internet didn't wait for anybody's approval. The internet happened as a result of free people making free choices, deciding what was going to be best for their businesses, for their lives. And next thing you know, from 1997 to 2007, what happens in 2007? The first iPhone comes out. Remember the lines going down the street down at the AT&T store?
Yeah.
And you had to wait for like 5 hours to get your iPhone? But there was a lot of growth between 1997 and 2007 where internet service providers and data centers grew up. You know, the infrastructure, the backbone of the internet had to get built. And people don't realize just how big and how much investment that took with businesses and industry saying, hey, we need, service. So Akamai is a company that was started to deliver video services over the web. Apple Computer said, we've got this crazy CEO named Steve Jobs who just came back on the job, and we only pay him $1 a year as a salary because he's kind of a twerp. But he wants to do these keynote addresses over the internet. So Akamai, can you help us out with broadcasting this video live over the internet? And something was born, because what did Steve do with that? Let me introduce you to the iMac. Remember those purple and gummy looking iMac computers?
The green ones too. Yeah,
yep.
I remember those ones.
That's when that came out. And you can draw a straight line between that through the iPod right on up to the iPhone in 2007. From 97 to 2007, all the infrastructure had to be built. But once the iPhone arrived, now all of a sudden it's Katie bar the door, because the internet is king. And what do you have once the iPhone hits? Well, Android, Google releases its kernel and says, hey, we want to keep up and we're going to let developers do this. All the capabilities of iPhone eventually migrate onto the Android system, and the race is on. And now you've got companies like Samsung, LG, Sony, all competing against Apple for the sexiest mobile technology.
Yeah, Google, all that.
Yeah. Fast forward 10 more years, 2017, you have more computing power in your pocket with an iPhone or an Android phone than the entire computing power of NASA during the moon launch in 1969. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But that internet infrastructure that was there to back it up was really, really important. It had to be built. You needed the foundation. And, oh, by the way, I really should make a plug here at this point for the United States Air Force, who, brings you GPS every day. That's right. Thank you, United States Air Force, because your GPS, and now United States Space Force, but historically United States Air Force powered this thing called GPS that we fit inside our phones. And so now you have what? You have Uber, and you have all kinds of location services with deliveries.
Google Maps.
I mean, you can't.
I
think it's against the law to drive your
Google
car now
Earth,
without a
Google Earth even.
Exactly.
Like, come on.
But all of that stuff didn't just happen. It had to be built over time. Investment had to take place. Businesses had to adopt to it. Everything came along. So now compare that technology to what we're seeing with cryptocurrency. Same sort of thing, only the difference is the power of that internet is powering that change in the crypto space. So the amount of change in the financial world is going to be exponentially higher or faster than the rate of change in that internet world and the 20 years that it took to bring that about. It's going to take a lot less time to completely transform financial systems, or a much bigger transformation in the financial system will happen in the same amount of time. And that's what cryptocurrency represents. Where we stand now, it's like being in that 1997 point. If we look through the future, we're going to see cryptocurrency take off in the same technological trajectory that we saw with mobile technology and computing technology.
I think so too.
And we want you to know about it, because it's probably going to be a very profitable ride for a lot of people, and it's accessible. Unless you bought Apple stock at $7 in 1997, which you should have. I'm looking at you, Dad. But, this is something very similar where if you understand it and you're disciplined and you learn about this stuff, you could take advantage of a very similar technological phenomenon.
There's a generational wealth surge going on right now. I think, there's certain percentages. I think we should get into that too in the next coming things. We can show you guys, a little bit of what we know to show you this generational wealth taking place. And you want to invest in these certain amount of cryptocurrencies, we can do that. We can show you guys, because we believe in it. We just want to teach you about it.
Yep.
And then if you learn enough from what Tim's teaching you, then maybe you can believe in it and then see it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. I mean,
And then tell your friends.
And tell your friends and tell their friends and
so on.
Yeah,
and so on.
with your iPhone that we just talked about.
That's right.
Just shoot them a text.
That's right.
FaceTime them. Do
That's
whatever
right.
you got to do.
Telegram.
Telegram.
Sup, bruh? So anyway, that's the reason why we're encouraging people to learn about this. We really believe that there's a macro trend that involves adoption of a new technology. And that technology is cryptocurrency. There's all sorts of hype about, people getting rich in Doge and, Bitcoin millionaires and all that stuff. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the hype. We're talking about the disciplined understanding of the adoption of a new technology that is radically changing the world beneath our feet, and that if we pay attention and are disciplined and are careful, we can see a lot of people get a lot of advantage by mastering that technology. We really do think that it's on the way, and we can see it just over the horizon. So that's why we're here. Give us your questions. What should we say? Stomp that subscribe button. And, we don't say smash. We say stomp.
I know. We just need more listeners. I feel
That's
if
right.
we had more listeners,
they'll come. If we build
eventually,
they will come.
If we build it, they will come.
Ease his pain.
Yes,
Ease
please.
his pain.
Please.
Go the distance.
I want to be TikTok famous or whatever they call it. No, not really. I have one
That's right.
TikTok. It's been viewed like 156 times.
Yes. New record.
No, I want to be on my brother's social media status, but no,
Nice.
social media is all bad.
That's all right. I'm telling you.
We're coming to you
We
through
wear
social
these
media.
Cardano and Bitcoin hats long enough, we will take over the world. Yeah. Anyway, send us your comments and questions, and we will definitely be happy to show you what we know or learn together. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time. You got anything else?
No, I don't.
All right. Say
Nope.
it. Go ahead. You're going to say it.
Veterans Talking Crypto.
There you go. Good job. See ya.